Alright, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM fans and OLR exclusive listeners, we got none other than the one, the only. We got Leigh MacInnis from the Trailer Park Boys and his show Trippin with Leigh. How you doing this evening? How you doing this afternoon? Sorry.
Not too bad, man. You know, post-COVID.
Yeah, the COVID's really kicking our butts down here, man.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of subsiding here. Luckily, I'm back to work. I'm actually doing some painting here today and having a cold beer.
Hey, that's a good way to do it. At least you're back to work. You know, not a lot of Canadians really are allowed to go back to work. So at least you're still racking in that money.
Yeah.
And the one thing I do want to ask you, Leigh, like, what made you decide to get into acting?
Well, I mean, I think it's every kid's dream, or at least it was mine. You know, when they used to ask us in junior, or not even junior high, primary, what do you want to be when you're older? And, you know, some people would be like, I want to be a police officer, I want to be a fireman, and I was like, I want to be an actor.
And we'll look at you now. You know what I mean? Not a lot of kids actually, when they say what they want to be, actually grow up to be it, man. Like, and you're one hell of a great actor as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it took me 37 years, but I eventually got into it. I did just about everything else. Imagine garbage man, welder, friggin' all kinds of stuff over the years.
But you know what? At least you got into acting. No matter how many years it's been, at least you got into it.
Yeah.
And I also noticed on your Facebook that you were a really, really, really big metalhead. If you don't mind me asking, what made you decide to get into heavy metal, and have you ever been a part of a band?
Yeah. I mean, I started listening to heavy metal, you know, from a young age. I think hard rock, heavy metal. First tape I ever listened to, I was 5 or 6 years old. It was AC/DC, If You Want Blood, You've Got It. And then I just kept getting heavier from there.
Oh man, you can never go wrong with AC/DC. You can never.
Yeah. Then I get into like Metallica and Slayer.
Are we ever a Pantera or a Lamb of God fan?
Oh yeah, Pantera. I seen Damage Plan with Slayer there back in 2004. It was a good show.
I heard their Wild in concert.
Yeah, Slayer was a bomb-ass concert, man.
And also, as we all know, you played the infamous role of Donald, also known as Donna as well, on the Trailer Park Boys. If you don't mind me asking, how did you land that role, and how did you get connected with Smith, Tremblay, and Wells?
Well, I met Tremblay and Wells through Mike Smith. He's my first cousin, so we grew up together. And, yeah, it was years ago. It was pre-season 8, well before season 8. I was actually, when we were thinking about, we were trying to get Trippin with Leigh going and stuff. And I was getting into script writing. So I was actually working on a pilot for those two characters, Don and Donna. So one day I called my cousin Mike and I asked him if he had any advice about any programs or books I could read about script writing, and I was telling him about this Don Donna character. And about 6 weeks later, he called me up and he said, yeah, I kind of forgot I even mentioned it to him. And 6 weeks later, out of the blue, he called me up and he said, yeah, Leigh, you remember that Don Donna character you were talking about? Would like you to pitch that. So they sent their camera guy over, and I did my little Don Donna thing, and they liked it, and they weren't really sure where they were going to use it, or at first we didn't even know if it was going to be on Trailer Park Boys, and I certainly didn't know. And then again, about 4 or 5 months later, after I pitched it, they called me and said, yeah, what's your availability for these dates? They said we wrote Don Donna into the new season of season 8 of Trailer Park Boys. And I was like, oh, okay, holy shoot. At the time, I was working at the shipyards making really decent money, but I was expecting a big layoff there. And, you know, it was one of those pivotal moments in my life where I had to make a choice: work at the shipyards for the rest of my life, or do season 8 of Trailer Park Boys. And of course, I quit the shipyards and I went with Trailer Park Boys.
And I actually did not know that you actually were the one that thought of that character. Like I always thought maybe it was just something like you got on set and they're like, "Hey, you're gonna be Donald," and then like next season, oh by the way, now you're gonna wear a dress. Like I actually thought that's how it went. I didn't know like you actually thought of those characters. That's actually fascinating.
Yeah, no, I mean, they helped me develop them and dress them and stuff, of course, and create their image, but no, the actual concept and a lot of their characteristics were well before Trailer Park Boys.
And the one thing I do want to say on that actually, on season 8 when you were Donald, and you were I believe you were the assistant trailer park supervisor with Randy, and then in season 9 when you became Donna, I'm not gonna lie to you, I had no clue that that was actually like until when I first saw Donna, I didn't know that that was actually you. I thought it was another character. I'm like, what did they do with Donald? I'm like, did he just leave the show and got replaced with Donna? And then I kind of noticed that it was like the same person. Like when I first seen you, like you did a phenomenal job on that character.
Thank you. Yeah, it's too bad they got canceled. I thought it was a pretty good dynamic.
It was. I have to say, it really was a good dynamic. It brought a little flavor to the show. It's something different.
Yeah, for sure.
Was it actually difficult for you to walk in those heels? Though, like I always noticed that, like when you had to walk in them, like was it difficult?
The, the first season, for sure, it was like wearing lawn darts in the bottom of my feet, and just sinking into the dirt. And, yeah, it took me a while, but after a couple seasons, I was picking out my own clothes.
It's not bad, you know what I mean? It just proves you grew into that character.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind me asking, why did like they cancel your character? If you don't mind me asking.
I don't know. It's not. I don't even know if it's really canceled. It was just put on the. It hasn't been in since season 10, right? And I don't know if it will be ever again. But I mean, I'm sure they had their reasons for writing out that character. And I think it was just. If you look at the newer seasons, 11 and 12, it went more back to the core of the writing, more towards the original seasons. So I think they wanted to get back to more of the core, less characters, less secondary characters like Candy and Colonel Dancer, and you got your lead characters, your primary, and then your second primary. So I think they just wanted to get rid of a lot of those secondary characters like mine.
And I have to ask you. Oh, sorry about that, Lee. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
I was actually just gonna ask, like, what's one of your most funniest and most cherishable moments actually being on the set of the Trailer Park Boys?
Like as far as acting, like my favorite scene.
Yeah, like like even behind the scenes, just something that happened that you would always cherish for like your entire career.
The night I met Snoop Dogg, I had eaten a shit ton of mushrooms. I was on about 3 grams, just eating. It was 1:30 in the morning, and he comes up and sits down in the there's a big long area. I'm in the kitchen. He's in the living room, and I'm there having a big conversation with Snoop. And then I pull in. I was so big that he's 20 or 30 feet away, 20 feet away from me. He can't hear a word I'm saying. He just sort of watched me and smiling and nodding, right, as I'm talking. And then I'm like, oh man, I'm too friggin' big. I gotta go down for a cigarette. So I go down for a cigarette. And this the next day, I got to actually talk to Snoop, and that's where we got some pictures taken and stuff. I had a really good hour and a half chat with him. It was awesome. He's an awesome dude.
I'm gonna be honest. 3 grams of shrooms. You must have been thinking you were hallucinating. Snoop Dogg walking at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do anything like that anymore. That was years ago, right? Now I have a son, and life's a lot different than it was back in 2015.
And I do want to say congratulations on that, man. Everybody has their party days, you know what I mean? I'm going to be honest with you. I'm live on the air, and I'll still say I tried shrooms once or twice. Scary stuff. Yeah. Scary stuff.
I loved it. I love it. I think I'll probably do it again someday. especially where they're starting to look at legalizing all that stuff. But yeah, Snoop was one of my meeting him on set. That was pretty cool. And anyways, to finish that story, I went down for my cigarette, and I had the really long hair. When I think it was before I cut it, I had really long hair. It was almost down to my waist. And they come down, and Mike and Snoop come down, right? And they said I was sitting there, and my hair was just like Cousin It hanging down in front of me, and I was taking a drink of a beer, and I had the cigarette in one hand, and they said you couldn't see my face, and the beer was just running down the front of my hair, and it all over my lap. Snoop says Mike, my cousin, Mike, man, your cousin Lee's fucked up. He was telling me this the next day, so yeah, that was a cool experience to meet him. One of my favorite scenes, I would have to say, would be the when Randy comes to talk about the crabs. That's probably my favorite scene that I was involved in.
And when you brought up shrooms, this actually popped into my head. I remember you were in the SwearNet movie, and I believe it was Pat Roach. In the movie, he was actually getting rotisserie, and you guys were all around high and whatnot. Obviously, I want to ask, was that scene actually acted, or was that just something where you guys were like, "Hey, man, this is funny. Let's roll this out"?
I mean, it was scripted. That SwearNet the movie, of course, scripted. But I mean, their style is good. Anything could happen on set as long as it's kind of along the script. It doesn't have to be exact. And sometimes, even with filming Trailer Park Boys, would go off the beat path a little, and something great would happen. But yeah, that was a great. I love doing that scene, and that actual song that I'm singing on top of the roof, the Cheap Trick song. My cousin Mike, he started playing guitar when he was 7, and my brother got his drums when he was 8. And that's the first song they learned together when they used to jam was Cheap Trick, on top of the world.
Yeah, and I remember Mike Smith was also in a band at one point as well, way before the Trailer Park Boys. I believe he was a guitarist.
Yeah, for Sandbox. Just, I did some singing and stuff over the years, not too serious. I was in a couple decent bands. The last band I was in was called Carry the Lost. Put out some songs. That was pretty cool. But then my focus kind of went towards acting, and in the last few years, it's been rough. But I get some stuff coming down the pipe for sure. My website, Trippin with Leigh, so TRIPPIN with Leigh, LEIGH.ca. That's going to be launching here, I think, on the 13th of June. And I'm going to start dropping some content to that and videos and yeah. And then there's Trippin with Leigh.
And the one last question I have, just pertaining to the Trailer Park Boys, and then I have some questions for Trippin with Leigh, because I have to know about this show. I want to ask about John Dunsworth. What was he like behind the camera? Not Leahy, but John Dunsworth. A lot of people just look at him as Mr. Leahy. But can you tell us a little bit more about what John was like as a human being?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could say I was closest, because I've only known John for a couple of years before he passed. God love him. But some of the other members, they were like a father figure to him, because he was there right from season 1, right? But John, he was very, very focused, smart, kind. And actually, on season 8, when I was kind of nervous doing my first scenes, because I hadn't acted before that. I mean, I guess I did SwearNet the movie, but as far as the series and those two characters in general, I mean, I don't know. I just went up to Pat. It's Pat, and I asked him, what kind of advice. And he said, "You talk to John." So I went and talked to John, and John and I were walking up the set, and he kind of gave me some advice about, just be yourself, basically. Even though you're being another character, you're in character, be yourself, and that character will, flow through you. So that's basically what I tried to do, was to be myself in character. It was kind of, if that makes sense.
It actually does, and you know what? You did a great job at it as well, because like kind of how you're talking now is how you talked in the show type thing. You know what I mean? Like it sometimes you just gotta be yourself,
Yeah.
and then the real character will come out.
But yeah, I like John, and good fella.
I do have to
So,
say, God bless his soul, man. Such a talented individual, and for I heard nothing but great stories pertaining to him as well. I never heard one bad thing, so I do want to say my condolences to Sarah and to the rest of his family.
yeah.
But as we all know, you have your own show called Trippin with Leigh. I have to ask you, what made you decide to start that particular show, and like, what's the story behind it?
Well, before I was working on the Donna concept or anything, it was Trippin with Leigh. So I think it was back in the end of 2009. I moved back home from Toronto, and I got talking to Mike again. And by this time I knew Rob and JP pretty well, and yeah, it was 2010, I believe. I pitched the idea for Trippin with Leigh to them. At first, they were supposed to come with me. So if they didn't get the rights back for Trippin with Leigh, for Trailer Park Boys, they were going to come and do Trippin with Leigh for me. But they ended up getting the rights. Trailer Park Boys in season 8, and the rest is history. It's huge now. But the original thing back in 2010, 11, they were working on Trippin with Leigh and trying to get that together. And at first, it was supposed to be kind of a man versus food only with drugs concept. So I was going to go around the world and just do completely insane, ballistic, and do as many drugs as I could and try not to die. And then I took a stroke, and it kind of changed the whole concept to more of a spiritual journey, right? And I ended up in Peru for 3.5 weeks. We filmed it in 2015. So just when I finished season 10, a week later I ended up going to the jungles. Very amazing experience. I did ayahuasca 3 times. Yeah, it was incredible.
And the one thing I do want to ask, out of all the episodes you have done with Trippin with Leigh, season 1 and even season 2 that hasn't been released yet, what is the worst drug that you tried that actually messed you up the most?
I wouldn't say any of them are bad, to be honest. I love all drugs equally, or did. Some of them put me in a position where I was nervous at the beginning. Oh my God, I'm completely out of it. Am I going to die? Am I going to get through this? That's kind of what the initial shock is. Like ayahuasca, though, it was so overwhelming. I'd say that was one of the most powerful things I ever did. Like, it was out of body, out of mind. Just one of the most mind-blowing experiences you could ever imagine. And of course, going down there and drinking that tea, I was expecting a mushroom buzz or something like that. And it just boom. Once it starts hitting you, it's like you just find yourself moving into another dimension, and it kind of separates you from this reality that you're in every day, living right. You let go of all your inhibitions, and your ego, and you just go into another understanding of life, I guess you could say. And yeah, that was probably, I have to say, ayahuasca. I can't believe I did it 2 more times after the first time. Second time, I was more alert, and it was kind of like I was taking in the hallucinations, if you could call them that, more so than the first time. And I can remember them trying to interview me the next morning after my second trip, because I was doing a lot of howling and freaking out. Not so much in the first one. And I was seeing these visions, and I didn't really want to talk about them, right? Because I couldn't really understand what happened to me. But then a friend of mine that was across the room at the same ceremony, actually Ian, our contact there that I went down to meet, he explained my trip completely in detail. I never mentioned it. I never mentioned it that night, and he seen my actual hallucinatory. He's seen my trip. Which kind of makes you wonder if there's something more, if it's more than hallucinations.
And the one thing I do got to say about that show, you know, a lot of people, you know, they probably would be like, oh my god, that show is blah, blah, blah. But I look at it as it's actually kind of a good thing that you actually do a show like this, because some individuals that are already into drugs and they want to experience more, you know, they could watch your show and be like, yo, that would really that would probably kill me. I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, your show shows people like doing the drug and also what comes after you do it. So I really do think, in a way, it's actually a great show. It's actually informative. You know?
Yeah, and ayahuasca, I wouldn't call it a drug. It's more of a medicine. It's a spiritual. It's sacred. It's been done for thousands of years. You know, but in Western society, you know, people will go get a handful of Valium or Ativan or friggin' Percocet and just eat them like Smarties all day and shoot down something they've been using to heal people for thousands of years. Like, oh, that's a crazy drug. Look at that guy. He's insane for doing something like that while they're eating a handful of Valium.
Yeah, honestly,
You know what I mean?
stuff that's like that you're doing is like natural stuff. The other stuff is pharmaceuticals.
Things. Yeah, exactly. You know, they'll shoot down marijuana and eat their daily dose of Ativan.
And also, back in 2015... Oh, sorry about that, Lee.
No, yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to do with that whole Trippin with Leigh, is to shed light on hallucinogenics and how. And now, since then, I wish I could have gotten it done all at once. Since all these things are starting to do research and realize that they're good for stuff, post-traumatic stress disorder, and during the process of legalizing hallucinogenic and you know, sacred medicines, we'll call them.
And that's a good thing, though. It really could help people with their PTSD. I know salvia was legalized for a while as well.
Yeah. I did that back in 2011, some of the original footage, after a 3-day bender. But at that point, it wasn't very spiritual. I was more on the path of self-destruction.
I'm gonna be honest. I think I tried salvia before because one of my friends was like, it's like legal weed. I'm gonna say that was the worst 8 hours of my life, because like it was just, I was like, oh my god, I can't, I'm gonna die. Like, I literally had to just run inside and hide. Like, it was bad.
Yeah, worst 8 hours. Holy shoot! So,
yeah, I was what you call the lightweight. You know what I mean? I'd take one toke and I'd be gone for like 8 hours.
It was actually 8 minutes. Yeah.
But also, Lee, in 2014, you were a part of a Netflix film called SwearNet Live, where you got interviewed by Smith, Tremblay, and Wells about your show Trippin with Leigh. Can you tell us what that experience was like, being a part of that particular Netflix film? And of course, how fucked up were you during that? Because I don't know if it was acting or not. It kind of looked like a live broadcast, but like you looked like you had a fun time.
Yeah, that was the actual night that they were launching SwearNet for the first time. I think it's only a little over an hour, but the original one, I'm not sure if it's still up on squarenet.com, but the original one was 3 hours.
Oh.
But they cut it down and put it on Netflix. But yeah, well, they said, maybe have a bit of a buzz on for the interview. But yeah, I showed up. I think it was on a Saturday. I started partying on Thursday again. That was I think it was 2012. I was still full throttle in Spain, partying every other day. And yeah, I think I was up for a couple days before I even got there for that. And I was too wasted to do the practice run. I was just like, look, guys, I'm too wasted. The questions weren't making sense. And they said, okay, go chill out in the green room. And so I did that. I come out, and I had 3 or 4 doubles down in the green room. And yeah, I come out for that. And, yeah, it was pretty wasted. I look back at it now and see that and realize, holy shoot, I'm glad I'm not at that point in my life anymore, to be honest.
And also, what particular countries did you travel to just during season 1 and season 2 of Trippin' with Leigh? Because I noticed you went to a lot of different places.
Yeah, so season 2 isn't actually out yet. It's in pre-production. There's actually some producers from the States that are going to take on that project, I believe. And the first one I was in Peru. It was filmed locally in the main. Actually, it's funny because Peru was supposed to be the last episode, and it ended up being the first, and I'm glad it was that way because it prepared me for the rest. Because I don't think I'll ever do anything heavier than what I did for the first one. But the second one, I'm doing a history of absence in Europe. And we're going to be going to 3 countries, to Czech Republic, Slovakia, into France, and then over into Holland, Amsterdam, Rotterdam.
Hey, you can't go wrong with Amsterdam. You already know you're going to have a fun time there.
Yeah, that'll be the grand finale, I'm sure, of season 2.
You should make that one probably the season finale.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just going to do a history of absence, and it's going to be cool. It's going to have that Trippin' with Leigh vibe to it. And, I think it's unique in a way. There's lots of documentaries on travel and food shows, but I kind of try to like to give it a different vibe, and I think I was able to achieve that the first one, and I want to keep that sense of Trippin' with Leigh throughout them.
And the one thing I do want to ask is, I was watching season 2 of the animated series, and I could have sworn I heard your voice as one of the Duber passengers. Was that actually you, or was that somebody else?
I haven't actually seen that part. It could have been.
Because like when I was I believe it was episode 1, the Duber. Like it was whenever the guy comes in Ricky's car and he's like really high or something like that. And it sounded like you. I was telling my wife that. I was like, this was like after we booked our interview. I was telling my wife, I'm like, that sounds like Leigh. I was like, what? So I looked at my wife and she's like, you're interviewing him. Why don't you just ask him? I'm like, I will, but at the end of the day, like it was making me trip out because it was your voice, but I'm so used to seeing you as Donald in the show, right? So I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just leave that up to people to guess, I guess.
And also, other than Trippin' with Leigh, what's next for you? Do you have what do you think is down the road for you? Like any other projects, anything else you want to promote? Will we still have you here live on the air?
There are other projects, and again, they're all in pre-production, and I'm hoping to go down to the States to film. This is a year off or so. And I won't get into the role, but yeah, there's a couple projects on the go. I mean, I had a hiatus there for several years, right from 2015 right up until, you know, a year and a half ago. I was involved in another project in Europe, but I'm not sure if that's still going to happen or not. I don't think it is, but, you know, I'm just loving fatherhood. My little boy, Rain, he's 4.5 months today, and that changes a lot. But I'm still focused on my dreams. But yeah, you still have to maintain a daily. Acting isn't something I can do full time at this point.
And it's completely understandable, you know, when you have a family, it tends to change stuff, but for the good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still focused. I want to get some more things out there before my time is done, let's say. And yeah, I have a different perspective on everything now as well, right? But yeah, I think acting is something I'm going to pursue probably for the rest of my life. It's always a dream to get the next big break, and I just hope somebody sees something in me from what I've done so far and says, hey, this guy is great in this part. Get a hold of him. And like I say, trippinwithleigh.ca is going to be launched soon, and of course I got the Facebook page, Twitter, and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm just going to start basically here in the next couple weeks is when I'm basically going to start focusing on getting some more content out there and getting my website up and going. And I got my own weed strain I'm going to start pushing called Strawberry Kitty. And a couple other things on the go, Canadian type deal. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the future. For now, though, I'm going to get back to painting.
And right before we wrap this up, Leigh, I do want to say, if is there anybody you want to give shout-outs to quickly before we let you go?
Of course, shout-out to everyone that's been following me through my career. Shout-out to Marinette, the boys, and, you know, and everyone that's going to help me here in the future.
And I want to say, Leigh, quickly, thank you so much for coming up on my radio station. Like I said a few times before we got on the air, I've been a huge fan of Trippin' with Leigh, your characters on the Trailer Park Boys. So just thank you for those years of entertainment, man. You know, for years upon years to come, people are going to cherish those characters. So just thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to season 2 of Trippin' with Leigh.
Okay, thank you so much for having me on, and it's been a pleasure.
You're most certainly welcome. Have yourself a wonderful day, and most definitely enjoy that painting.
Thank you.